may use CapCut to edit out like this beginning part here before the theme song.
Oh yeah,
And all
absolutely.
that kind of stuff.
Wait, you have a theme song?
Or I might just keep it like that. Yeah. Like I said, I started the podcast last year when I met you. I think I met you sometime in June, and I had just gotten started with Trapped in History. I originally got the name actually from what was it? During COVID, me and my team teacher were teaching our classes, and we would do a podcast, and we decided to call it Trapped in History because we were all trapped inside during COVID.
Yeah.
And we just thought it was kind of clever. But I also got to thinking later to honor her that in a way we're all kind of trapped in history because we can't escape it. We're all part of history. So I thought, and more importantly, I did research to make sure nobody had taken the name, nobody had used it. The closest one I had was a podcast that was only 3 episodes about genocide called Trapped History. And it was just a short one back in the early teens. So luckily I was able to find something that kind of stuck with me. And I was able to use different graphics editors and things like that to kind of come up with a brand, like a logo and the background and stuff like that. So I don't have anything trademarked or nothing like that. Of course, I'm just still, man, me, I'm just still a public school teacher, still trying to play around. I have my day job that I still love, but this is something that I'm really falling in love with as I'm going. And then my twin brother, he commented on your TikTok. I don't know if you saw earlier. So I have a twin brother that looks just like me that you probably saw earlier. And it was really cool to kind of go through that. And he was really grateful that you're coming on here and not only like willing to showcase what you're going through, but also about helping me out. Because like by you coming on here with me, a lot of the people that respect you will come on to see more about you. Because you're in a podcast like this, you can be more candid about your experiences and whatnot. So hey, just in case you come into the podcast, I'm not started just quite yet. You're not missing anything. I am just in here. It's right at 8:00. We're going to start here pretty soon. And I know that, Skip, you're loading up a couple of things there on the stage. Do you want me to bring those to stage?
Not yet.
Okay, so you just got to let me know which one you want to do when. Yeah. And I can click the bring. I'm going to test it out real quick. I just want to see. Okay, good. I haven't played around with it much. I've been wanting to do it for a while. Actually, just out of curiosity, how are you doing that? How are you bringing
right next to settings? So down at the bottom right now, and I just learned this in the last 15 minutes. Down next to settings is there's a screen with a plus sign, which will let you upload a slideshow.
Oh, I see that.
Or an image file.
I see it now. Yes.
And so I had I've got a bunch of common pictures that I use, like if I record down here. And so, I just thought, if it comes up, we can talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish it was more like Zoom in some ways where I can make you the admin, almost in a way that way you can kind of click on things that you wanted to use on them. But hey, I'll be your PowerPoint clicker. Whenever you want me to show something, I'll bring it up and I'll just kind of look for the usernames. I also love that you brought in the Mandela effect. That we'll reference that later. That's great reference there too.
Oh,
I mean, as well as I do, there's, I respect you so much because you have such a niche topic. You're very specifically JFK. Although I respect you've done a lot of things outside of that kind of have to do with that time period. And every once in a while you'll do something like that. But that'd be something really interesting to talk to you about. Is have you ever caught yourself in the last few years like feeling as though, okay, I'm kind of having a hard time coming up with new content or something like that? Other than I know, obviously there's theories on JFK all the time. There's evidence that comes out, but at least with me, I have all of world history and European history in America. But for you, I mean, you have such a following. Hell, you could be talking about the history of the biggest ball of yarn in America, and most of your followers, like me, I'm going to watch it because I'm used to your voice, I'm used to your look. You just have this very genuine nature. The same thing I said to JD last week from the History Underground when he was on, is that you give off a vibe of somebody that you could have a coffee with or a beer with, and you're the same off air that you are on, for the most part. And I think that's one of those things that no matter what topic you're doing, you're probably going to have a significant following.
Well, I that's very gracious, and I appreciate it. think that I have a face for radio, which is
I
a
said
joke.
the same thing.
But I've also been told I had a voice for radio. I don't know. I can talk extemporaneously. And then if it's something that I'm passionate about, I get excited about it. And if I feel like I'm reaching new people, I've been doing this for it'll be 3 years, actually. Wait a minute, is that right?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I could have sworn it would have been around.
Yeah, it'd be the 3rd
years.
anniversary this coming November. So it's quite a story. And sometimes I wonder if the story is complete. My part of the story is I wonder about that.
Well, hey, I have a question for you tonight.
Sure.
That's along those lines.
Okay.
That's not at all trying to pressure you to stop doing what you're doing, but it is a question about closure. So I'll let you know what that's going to be later, but it's somewhere along the lines of where did I? Here it is. In terms of the JFK assassination and the conspiracy, do you seek closure? Is it something where, and I guess it goes along the lines with what you said, is there a certain point where you go, okay, at least in terms of this particular journey, I feel like I've kind of plateaued or I've hit some kind of a conclusion. Plateaued sounds negative, but I mean it more like you've kind of reached a somewhat satisfying conclusion for what you've been doing.
I don't think I've reached a conclusion. It has
good.
Been.
I hope not.
It has
for my selfish sake of what you're doing.
I'm not 100% certain that the case will be solved to the satisfaction of those who don't want to investigate all of the threads. They just want to know, okay, so who did it?
Yeah.
Now one of my catchphrases is Oswald didn't act alone. And in fact, I'm wearing I just have to show you. Sorry, not a show here.
No. This is turning into OnlyFans real quick.
Right. So I got this. I actually got this off the TikTok shop.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I remember you having that shirt. I think you've used it on several of your videos.
Okay.
It's really cool.
By the way, I did start the live on my TikTok and
awesome. Okay, good. So hey, if you're okay with it, we'll go ahead and start. I just want to
I'm ready
now or later. You're good. I'm going to do my intro music and my outro, which is not long, somewhere between 10 and 12 seconds. The reason why I do this is obviously I want to be able to have the freedom of uploading an audio only. Some people prefer audio only. This is what I really appreciate about being a Spotify kind of creator is that you can upload the video and it'll give the video to everything, but you can also minimize it at any point and be listening to the audio. So it has both of those if you kind of prefer it. So, hey, just for the sake of I'm editing the audio on the back end, Skip, I'm going to go ahead and play the intro. I'll do my normal short intro thing. I always save housekeeping stuff for a separate recording. That's not going to be me taking your time. If I have announcements about upcoming episodes or ideas or things in my own life, I'll save that for when we're done, and then I'll add that on the back end later whenever guests have invested their time in me. But anyway, I just want to tell you before we start, I really appreciate you being on tonight. I'll make sure I do that on the air too. So if you're joining us tonight, I really appreciate your time, people hopping in. So, hey, Skip, I'm going to go ahead and start the theme, and then I'll go right into that. I'll do a short little intro for you if you want to say a few words, and then we'll get right into it. No planned agenda. It's more of just two guys talking about things that they like in history, me getting an idea of your experiences and what you've gone through in the past. And I'm sure I can gain a lot of humility and knowledge from you tonight. So here we go. Hello, Trapped in History followers, and welcome to episode 53. I really appreciate you all joining me on a short notice. I was very fortunate today to have a friend of mine that I've really admired and respected over the last year. I became a content creator, sort of. I still feel weird calling myself that. I don't feel like I deserve it, like my guest has and all of them. But I started doing the Trapped in History podcast fully in June this last year. I guess back in 25 or 24. And one of the first of the TikTokers I came across with was Skip from JFK I think it was at the time 60 years later or 61 years later. And I like that he keeps evolving the title as we're going forward. And he was one of the first ones that actually responded to me when I told him I liked this channel, that I looked for his advice. And you were even kind enough to invite me on a live stream with other very respected history influencers and content creators on TikTok. And that helped me greatly. Like you were able to really help kind of get my voice out there. So thank you for helping with that surge. So more importantly, my guest tonight is Skip from JFK 62 years later on TikTok and other social media platforms. I can allow him later to go over that with you if he would like to steer you in that direction. So Skip, I just want to tell you thanks for joining me late tonight. We're doing a little late night show after dark version of Trapped in History. It is 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. Thank you for your time, my friend.
Hey, I tell you, I wanted to go ahead and do it so that we would remember it to do it. Because otherwise I would have just put it off. And I tried to invite you, and I invited someone else to my TikTok live. So I don't know if that's something you want to play around with, but where I'm live on TikTok.
I'll see if I can get in there. I'll have to turn my volume down though. I'll see if I can get in there.
Right.
With you.
It would just be it'd be my audio perhaps.
Sure, yeah. Okay,
or your mic can still work.
Guest request sent. Okay, I sent you a guest request on the so yeah, it's on your end, but I'll just at least be in there as a guest. Now hit join. There we go.
Okay.
All right. So I turned my volume all the way down. We're good.
All right. So that's great. So for my followers, I am happy to join my friend at Trapped in History tonight. Robbie, thanks for having me on. And man, let's just talk about the elephant in the room right off the bat. To call ourselves content creators. I think that you are a content creator, but think about me. All I'm doing is talking about the greatest unsolved mystery in the history of the United States 62 years later. Is anything that I'm saying original? One thing that people ask me all the time is, have you thought about writing a book? Do you have a podcast? Will you start a podcast? Where, when do you, I finally started a YouTube channel. And I'm like, well, there are already so many books, and there are already so many podcasts, and YouTube channels and everything like this thing has been done. As far as I know, there isn't the only place where it wasn't was TikTok. If I'm filling a niche on TikTok, I'm glad about that. But they said what they said 3 years ago, what the best advice was pick a niche and then stick to it. If you really want to be successful, don't go outside of your niche. Well, I hope you can head it out the coughs.
Oh no, you're good. I'll probably be called 3 times too. And
so I am a huge history buff. I love all kinds of history, but then the niche I picked was, okay, yes, it's U.S. history, yeah, but it's the U.S. history in the 60s, but specifically 1963. And even more specifically, November 22nd, 1963. Like, that's it. To understand November 22nd, 1963, you need to understand October through December of 63, but you really need to understand all of 63 and all of 64. And then you have to jump to 76, 77, where the House Select Committee on Assassinations was created. And then you got to skip up to 1991 when Oliver Stone released his famous movie, JFK.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The people of the country lost their ever-loving minds about that movie. Some for in huge support of, and some detractors who said Stone once again rewriting his view of the 60s. Whether you subscribe to what Stone presents in that movie, 1991, and that movie changed the face of the case forever. Did it change history itself, that movie? Perhaps. Let's look at what happened in 1992, because after a year-long tour supporting that film, Oliver Stone is called before Congress. There's a tremendous resurgence of interest in the case. And as a direct result of response to that congressional hearing and public pressure, Congress voted and passed the JFK Records Act, signed it into law. That law specified that all of the documents, all of the files would be released fully unredacted to the public. And it laid out the standards and guidelines for that. That was 1992. Then the ARRB, did my camera?
Yeah, your camera just started tilting up.
Edit this out too.
It's making you turn into Gimli on Lord of the Rings. Now just showing only the head.
Why I hate this thing.
It happens.
Okay. What happened in 1992? As a direct result of Stone's movie, the Assassination Records and Review Board, or ARRB, was created. It had a 4-year mandate and an operating budget, and that their mandate was to expedite all of the classified records from the House Select Committee on Assassinations, who in 1977, after concluding that there probably was a conspiracy, but largely supporting the findings of the Warren Commission, chose to seal away all of the documents until the year 2039. And the ARRB sought to undo a lot of that, and they reviewed a lot of these documents. They sought ones that had been hidden and ultimately laid out, based on people who were still alive and the CIA's legit need to be able to protect sources and methods. But they staged out all those documents and said, okay, during this 5-year period, this 10-year period, this group of documents can be released. These need to continue to wait, but here's the future date when they will be released. And they followed the law, the congressional law. So what happened then? Well, we got a partial release, and a lot of things became known as a result of that weren't known at the time of the Warren Report came out, the official government report in 1964. In 76, 77, the House Select Committee on Assassinations looks at a lot of new things, but ultimately couldn't prove. They suspected, but couldn't prove a conspiracy. Oliver Stone, 1991, ARRB in 1992. Every president since 1992, that's every U.S. president since who was president in 92, hit Mr. History Teacher.
I believe that was it was the end of Bush, HW, right? Or was this the beginning of Clinton?
That was GHW Bush.
Walker, yeah.
He signed it into law. Okay, and that's a podcast for another time. But every president since H.W. Bush has been obligated under the law to expedite the release of all the JFK files. Well, they clearly slow played it. They slow walked it, like every year, and every year we'd get some. And then not, in 2013, there was a bunch. Under the Trump 45 administration, there was a large dump, but still at the last minute, President Trump was urged to not release about the last batch, 4,500 or so documents. And it was Pompeo, who was head of the CIA at the time, said, please don't do this. Okay, then, so that was Trump 45. That would have been 2017 or so. We get to the Biden administration in 2022. President Biden essentially washes his hands of it once and for all and says, the CIA needs to be the final. Some more documents were released, but Biden says, okay, really, the CIA should be the decider of how the rest of these documents are released. Well, that was basically like asking the fox what color to paint the hen house.
I was like, man.
So that's what interest does the CIA have in disclosing everything? None. I'll just help you with that. None. Okay. Trump 47. That's fast forward to this year. Now, this case has been going on this entire time. Okay, and people have never stopped talking about it. They still haven't. But after releasing a lot, but not all, of the documents under his first administration, his second administration, he decides he's going to kick it in the pants. But understand, the executive order itself was not that effective. As I said, every president since 92 had been already obligated to release all the files, and they just didn't. What the executive order in January actually said, now I get this a lot, Trump released all the files. That's not exactly what he did. He did give it a good kick, and I applauded this particular executive order. But what he actually said was to the CIA, the FBI, come up with a plan to release these files. Whatever it was, that worked. And there was another huge document drop in March of this year, and we were talking about that off camera. And at that time, we saw yet another spike of interest in the case, and it came after me for 2.5 years asking the questions and doing the videos and saying, when are they going to finally release all of these files? And then in March, man, we got a bunch of them, and they're all out there on the JFK page of archive.gov, which, by the way, maybe you know this, the National Archives happen to be closed now. Fortunately, you can still get on their website, but because of the shutdown, I guess you can't walk in the place. Just like national parks. Never mind. So all these files were released. Did we learn anything new? This is a common question that I get. Yeah, we learned a few things that were new. Did we get all of the files? No. There are still a few key things that have not been released. So we're, the journey goes on. The search goes on.
It's quite the saga.
It is a tremendous saga. Now, I was, without actually saying how old I am, but I was a teenager in the 80s. This had to, this maybe even 78, 79, and maybe when I was a preteen. What really started me down this road is a meme from 1979. I'm just going to pick that year arbitrarily because I know it was pre-1980.
Yeah.
And my dad shows me a newspaper article, and it's all of the coincidences between the assassination of President Lincoln and
I remember that.
Kennedy, right? You've heard this before, right?
I have. Yep.
Okay, letters in the name. Lincoln had a vice president named Johnson. So did Kennedy.
Yeah.
Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln, and Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy. That one's not exactly true, by the way. You can look it up. Booth shot Lincoln from a warehouse and shot Lincoln in a theater and ran to a warehouse.
Ran to a warehouse.
Okay, this goes on and on.
Yeah,
and it gets like they're counting the letters in each person's name. I don't buy into it a whole lot. It's some weird coincidences, but you want to hear some more weird coincidences? Just look at the actual case. so that's just a meme, and it's still circulating on TikTok. Also, people get a lot of mileage out of it because not everybody in the world has heard it. So, but that is what got me interested in the case. I read everything I could get my hands on for the next 20 years. I don't think I saw JFK in the theaters in 1991. Maybe I did. I don't remember. It was 1991.
Yeah, it was 91. I do remember the movie coming out. I remember being a kid, and I remember like being a big deal. Like, I mean, I was only a first grader or second grader, but I do remember like hearing about it. I remember growing up and seeing it in maybe the late 90s is when I kind of first started to watch it. Obviously, as a little kid, I wouldn't have watched it. I've always enjoyed it. That might be a fun one to have you back on in the future. If you'd like to come back, me and you could go through maybe a historical conversation about that movie.
Yeah. Sorry. I'd be happy to do that. That movie, as you know, focuses on the New Orleans DA at the time, Jim Garrison, who started looking at Lee Harvey Oswald's connection to New Orleans, and he found a bunch of stuff. There's no doubt New Orleans is integral to the story. But Garrison was the only person to ever bring a prosecution in the case. Most people accepted the Warren Report as gospel when it came out in 1964. But that didn't last very long. And as early as the 70s, people started pulling on the threads and saying, how could this be? This is, it started with the single bullet theory. And so Congress was really interested in some of the covert actions that the CIA was already involved in. That's the Church Committee. We go and look that up. And that all led to the House Select Committee on Assassinations. By that time, we were all still, not quite a decade later, reeling from the assassinations of JFK and then RFK and MLK. And you think, like, well, when you want to talk about coincidences, like why you could get into why those three people were targeted, and were they targeted by the same elements of the same group of people or network of people. And there's a great trying to pull the name now. I can't. I'll think of it. It's a documentary series, and they're all here on TikTok also. I'll think of it and I'll send it to you. I haven't, like, it's a purchase. It's not like you can just stream it somewhere. You have to actually buy it. 4 Died Trying. That's what it's called. Go have a look at that. 4 Died Trying, because it includes Malcolm X. Okay. What do we make of all this? In November of 2022, and I told you about a lot of the stuff, including this studio, that, I started a new hobby and I buy all the equipment for it, and then I forget about the hobby. But in November of 2022, I was on Thanksgiving break with my family. And it was a slow moment, maybe, after dinner on Friday, hanging out for the weekend. What am I going to do? And I said, wonder what this TikTok thing is all about. And so I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. That's a lot of fun watching, but how do I actually make videos? And would anybody want to watch any videos? I could do videos about my cats and my food, or my family, my kids. But the conventional wisdom in 2022 on TikTok was, pick a topic and stay on it. And for some people, that's fashion tips, food tips, I don't know. It's just do silly stuff. Dances. Some people go viral just doing dances. All right. What am I going to, I can't do any of those things.
Well, hey, that kind of brings me to a question I was going to ask you tonight. In a way, obviously, you can answer this on a personal level.
Sure.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Skip.
No,
I didn't
no,
mean
no.
to interrupt.
It's all good.
It's more of like, and maybe this is partially answering the question. And I struggle with this myself because, I have a very broad podcast. I teach AP European history. I've taught for 17 years. I can teach world history. I've taught American. I've kind of like to do everything. But obviously, considering what you just said, that makes TikTok a little bit more difficult because rather than focus on kind of one sort of niche topic, I kind of bounce all over the place. And I was kind of, when I go through the struggles here, and this is not disrespectful at all to the TikTok audience or a YouTube or a podcast one, but I do feel like there's obviously different kinds of watchers and listeners. So you have kind of your podcast groups that kind of like the long form sort of storytelling, the audiobooks, things like that. But then you have, like, I have friends like this, they prefer to get their information in 30 to 60-second kind of pieces. And you've been able to cover a lot of complexity over the years in these shorter kind of videos. Now, I know sometimes you will do longer videos, but I guess especially for people just kind of starting out, this is going to be, I mean, for you, from your personal opinion, what's the best way, as I put in the question, to convey the truth to an audience who may prefer their information in 30, 60 seconds, but especially if the truth is very complex, as you know, in history, especially the JFK situation. You brought up a great point earlier. I want to mention this before you answer the question, and that is, I believe in something called unraveling. So you have a very specific topic, but look at what you just did earlier. You can take that one topic and reverse engineer it and look at this complexity and these layers that are all connected. And you tied it all the way up till this spring. So it just shows you there is so much information you can delve into, and it's so much more nuanced than the topic of your TikTok yields it to. It's just JFK, but it's just so much bigger than just JFK on that as well too. So I guess let me go back to the question. I just want to give you a compliment on there and give you a little bit of a break too as well. But I guess for any kind of a TikToker, but especially new ones like me that's doing content, what's the best way to really do a historical topic that can be very complex, but to do it in a way where you want to convey the truth, you want to do it in an entertaining way, but an empathetic way. You want to be, sensitive and understanding, but you only have maybe 30 to 60 seconds, especially when you're starting out, to capture someone's attention, to then can kind of convey that. It seems like a very tight rope to walk. And I'm just kind of wondering, over the years, especially starting off for you, what advice do you have for those of us down here at the bottom of the rung trying to slowly work our way up?
I'll just tell you, that first 3 months was terrible. Don't go scrolling all the way through the channel back to the very early videos. They're just horrible. I knew I had to be focused. And if you give me a microphone and an open airwaves, I can't, like I said, I can fill time. Talking is not a problem. How do you get people to stay interested? How do you eat an elephant? And the answer is always one bite at a time. And so JFK and that story, I call it the greatest unsolved mystery in the history of the United States. And some people will argue with me on that, but that's what to me, the JFK history mystery is unsolved. We're still investigating it. What is history if it's not unraveling? And I think that's a perfect analogy, because you think of the threads in a sweater, and when you start pulling on one, another one follows right after, and before you know it, you have torn apart the whole thing, maybe deliberately and maybe accidentally. But I forgot where I was going with that analogy. I had to inject some discipline. And I became very interested in the editing process. And I realized that when I finally learned that if you can't hook somebody onto your video in the first 5 seconds, maybe even 3 seconds, then you've lost them. And on TikTok, all these videos that you see, how to be a viral content creator and all of this. Okay, first of all, history is not conducive to going viral. I will just tell you that.
Yeah.
But if you want to get people to watch, you have to hook them in the first 3 seconds, because that thumb, as you know, is this is what we do now as a society. Mm-hmm. We thumb through. If I don't catch your eye, and I don't think that a lot of my videos do that. I think people watch because they're interested. I'm not sure that there's anything about me personally that is what brings the audience in. I'm a average middle-aged guy. But I just started poking around at all of the different threads, and I said, let's just look at this one piece of it, this one thread. And as soon as you look at one thread, what you have in the JFK case is a bunch more questions. Well, that is the study of history. When you really get into it. So yeah, I picked a niche, and I'm probably stuck with it now. Every now and then I'll veer off and talk about, for example, Amelia Earhart. She was in the news just recently. I am still a huge fan, and there are creators who have other specific they have specific topics within history. I'm a huge fan of Melissa R., who is all about the Titanic. Like, that's the thing that she has chosen and focuses on. And then I have other history creator friends who cover a lot of different topics. Perhaps it's whatever they taught that particular day. I think that I'm dubious about my own original contribution to the study of history, other than I enjoy it. What's left for me, I think, is being a part of a history community and joining with other people who enjoy history and enjoy watching history. I learn something all the time from other history creators. I'm not sure that this is answering your question, but I learned.
No, it is. It definitely is. And you're also answering other potential questions that I had. This is good. This is good.
I think I learned a little something from everybody. The people that I follow, I follow because, man, they're good at what they do, which is capturing my attention about an interest of mine. Yeah, the silly videos are fun, but as TikTok has changed, as you know, over the last 3 years, what people are now seeking, really what TikTok is seeking from creators and what watchers are seeking, are actual substance. And so I'll do the silly videos every once in a while. You'll see them every once in a while. I'll do something just totally
the one recently of you with the like animated foil on top of your head, like the conspiracy kind of it was a duet video. Okay. That was pretty funny.
Okay, but I have to give credit to Melissa R., who I duetted, and she is the TikTok creator I was referring to. So I encourage everybody to look her up.
She's really good.
I mean, and she, I think you got to be not afraid to put yourself out there. She definitely isn't. I don't think I'm afraid of putting myself out there. I hope that I have something to say, and it's, a 250,000, not quite a 250,000 followers. Not everybody agrees with me, and I am not that worried about them agreeing with me, except for the people who insist that history has been settled and that there's nothing more to learn and there's nothing more to study. Yeah. We should all just accept the Warren Commission report as the history. I think it is because they're not ready to face the complexity. Perhaps they certainly don't have an answer for it.
Yeah, because what you're bringing up, this is why for the audio listeners or people listening on your TikTok, I put up a statement that I had used the other day in a conversation. I did a conversation with other history enthusiasts over why we should wrestle with history. You did a great video that I'm going to play the audio on later for that. And but what you're bringing it up there too, there are some followers or some people that watch the videos, maybe they're not ready, and that's why I asked the question: do we often seek simplicity over complexity? I didn't mean we too, because sometimes, even though I'm a historian, maybe it's because it's easier. It's almost like, do you remember the John Cleese video from the 80s about extremism? Do you remember like the actor from the Monty Python stuff? It's a quick kind of, it's almost like an SNL kind of skit, but he basically does this parody commercial on why extremism feels so good to be on one party or another. But it's really because of simplification. Everything seems so good and simple, and it makes us feel good. And maybe that sense of simplicity gives us closure. But I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Skip. I was just kind of adding to what you said there. You're giving further credence to maybe the argument that maybe the reason why we do that is because sometimes we try to seek the simple solutions because either it's too complicated for complexity, or like you said, maybe we're not really ready to come to terms with what might be the complex truth.
Well, I think it's all of that, and I'll even say it one other way, which is that what we really want is closure. And if simple brings us closure, we'll gravitate towards it. And complexity doesn't bring us closure. And the people that today, maybe the poll was 2021, 2022, certainly as recently as 2013, 70% of Americans on either side of the political aisle do not accept the Warren Report at 900 pages as the settled history. And the 26 volumes of fluff for evidence that honestly it's just filler. It's just, hey, look, we did this for a year, but at the end of it, Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Okay, so then why hide 3 million pages of documents from the public for 35 years? Like, why? That okay, so we're jerked out of our desire for closure by the reality of we can't just ignore this and hope that it all goes away. That's exactly what the Warren Report. See, I'm just sort of weaving this all together, but that is what the Warren Report really sought to do. And I think it was the Katzenbach memo basically that said, we have to, there needs to be a blue ribbon commission so that people don't ask questions and that strange theories don't come up. But mostly we need to be able to prove to the public beyond a shadow of a doubt that Lee Harvey Oswald did this himself. And so here's a guy who was a CIA asset, and they tried and convicted him in the court of public opinion. No, they tried and convicted him in the Warren Report without the benefit of ever giving him a trial. They truly sought simplicity. But when we really start looking at all of the different pieces, we cannot ignore that it is complex. Now might be a good time to, if you want to add to the stage the image file that is the bullet found on the stretcher. CE 399. This ought to be simple, right? This is the famous magic bullet. It was found on Connolly's stretcher, except they're not 100% sure. Really, honestly, there's some question as to whether it was Connolly's stretcher or JFK stretcher. And also, they would never have found it, except for the fact that they moved the stretcher, it bumped against the wall, and it rolled out from underneath the mattress. How did a bullet reverse itself, basically, after being submerged in the subcutaneous, not saying that right, the subcutaneous fat cells of a human thigh, which, by the way, was Connolly's left thigh, which, by the way, we know fragments from this bullet and not any other, supposedly fragments were extracted. So how did this bullet work its way backwards out of tissue back through the very small hole in Connolly's pant leg to then be laid on the stretcher? Connolly hypothetically is taken off the stretcher at some point and put on the operating table, and then this bullet is mysteriously falls out or is found by a hospital technician who hands it immediately over to the Secret Service, and then is asked to identify it months later and says, no, this bullet does not look like the one that I found. The one that I found was cone shaped. And then you look at this thing, and yes, people call it pristine or near pristine. It's okay. Yes, it is misshapen a little. You can't see it from this angle, but when you spin the bullet in 360 degrees, it's deformed a little, but still there's more lead fragments that allegedly came from this bullet than would fit back into this bullet. In other words, there's more lead found than could possibly be missing from this bullet. And this bullet, according to the Warren report, the official story, the simple story, right? This is the simple story of the single bullet theory, or as we call it, some of us, the magic bullet. The bullet fired at a downward angle, passes through JFK's back at the level of vertebrae T3. Okay, so that's 3 to 4 inches below your neckline. Okay, downward angle. And exits, which the initial doctors disagree with, exits his neck at about, nicked his tie. So, right about the tie line of his neck, which would be an upward angle from vertebrae T3. And then tumbles and yaws between JFK's seat and Connolly's seat. Connolly, hypothetically, sitting half a foot to the left of JFK. We know that's not right because of the diagram of the limo. Hits Connolly's back, shatters his 5th rib. The rib bone punctures his lung. The bullet exits his right front chest, right below his nipple, and shatters his right wrist bone. And then from his wrist bone still has enough velocity to exit his right wrist, okay, this half of his body, and enter his left thigh, only to then bounce back out of his leg through his pants hole and in a condition that looked like this. When the Warren report's own test firings of this ammunition into a goat carcass to simulate the striking of a human rib, takes this ammunition and deforms it beyond all recognition. Same with the cadaver's wrist. So independently, shot through a rib, shot through a wrist, bullets deformed every time. So this little bullet is not simple. And the single bullet theory is not simple. It's not believable, but it is the sine qua non, as Dr. Weck famously said. CE 399 is the sine qua non of the Warren report. That is to say, without it, Nothing else in the Warren Report matters. So, okay, that's just one example.
It's so fascinating that much complexity comes from that one exhibit. And this goes back to that unraveling aspect again. Look how many arguments go with just that one bullet, and how many theories that go behind it. It's pretty incredible, especially with the way you put it.
Okay, so I like, you can take that down now, and I'll
Sure.
just maybe we'll look at another one in a minute. But November of 2022, I was sitting around Thanksgiving with my family. What am I going to talk about on TikTok? I know. I had an idea. The very start, I said, okay, I had my personal TikTok and I was doing, stupid videos over on that. Okay, let's get real. What can I do that people would really be interested in? I know. My entire life, I've wanted to visit Dealey Plaza, because if you've ever been, I know you know this feeling, Robbie. If you've ever been, like, you'll pay the admission fee for any museum. And so I'm glad you put that question up.
Yeah, because I've had that one ready to go. I remember your videos of you flying out there. You kind of vlogged most of the experience. I was extremely jealous. Yeah,
well, let me just
I was so happy for you too.
Listen, spring for the plane ticket. And my spouse, my partner, she can answer a lot of these questions. She's heard more about JFK than she ever dreamed of. But
she's actually an expert herself.
No kidding. She knows the whole case. She knows the names, and she can't rattle it off, nor is she interested in it. But yeah, she knows. Anyway, so I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pilgrimage to Dallas, and I'm going, I'm a grown adult and I have the means. I am going to book myself on a trip down there, and for the 60th anniversary. Oh, you know what? I will call my TikTok account JFK 60 years later, and I'm going to spend November 22 to 2023 documenting I'm going to vlog my journey to Dallas. And I didn't necessarily even need to be there for the actual November 22nd, 2023, but it was enough for me to say, I'm going to go to Dallas. I'm going to walk those sites. I'm going to go to the 6th floor museum. I'm going to stand behind the picket fence. I'm going to look in the storm drain. I'm going to do all the things. And I got more than I bargained for when that happened. Finally, 2023, it didn't happen. Some life stuff happened, and I was, there were some good things. There were some not good things. All of it added up to, okay, I didn't make the trip to Dallas for the 60th anniversary. Fast forward to December 2024, I had a work opportunity come up that took me to Dallas, and I volunteered for it. Like, they were asking for volunteers. I volunteered. Yeah, I'll go.
It's like the universe was trying to put you in that.
It was, because it was 2 years later. It was now 61 years since 63. Yeah. I said, yeah, I'll go. And man, as luck would have it, the destination was downtown. Now, it wasn't even just suburban Dallas. I mean, it was right downtown. The hotel I stayed in was 6 or 8 blocks from Dealey Plaza. I could not contain my excitement. I shot video in the Uber from the airport, drive it into Dealey Plaza. The moment I drove in, I could not have been more excited. I had a little bit of downtime scheduled in. I literally threw my suitcase into my hotel room and went back to Dealey Plaza. And I shot a bunch of pictures. I mean, we could talk for hours about each picture that I took. So the first afternoon was just me walking around. And I don't know if I can make this. I probably pick it. Okay. Well, here's what I did, and I didn't have the picture ready. There's so many, I only picked a few out of hundreds.
I can't imagine how many photographs you got from just that one trip.
But the very first thing I did, just so you know, was walk down the sidewalk from the book depository and look into the storm drain and conclude that the final shot could not possibly have come from there for many reasons, not the least of which was, if you know anything about hunting deer, or if you're a hunter at all, or even just common sense tells you that you can't possibly pick up a target in the amount of time that you would have had with that limited field of vision. Like, that's number one. Don't talk to me about trajectory or angles or being hidden or any of that. That storm drain was 2 feet wide, and you could only possibly have seen the limo when the nose of the limo came into view, and you would have not have time to aim before the rear of the limo would already be, it would have moved like this. Not because it was moving that fast, but because your field of view. Okay, I am not a believer in the storm drain theory.
Yeah.
But I could, museum wasn't open on Mondays. That's when I was there. I was spent all my time outdoors, but there was plenty to see. So I do my thing, and then on the last day, I actually took a personal day from my job because I was in Dallas, and I went back to Dealey Plaza, and I did all of the, if you want to pull up the picture that said 2nd Street X.
I did. I do remember this picture. I think I remember you posting this on your social media.
Like everybody does this, and it's going on all the time. Any day of the year when you get down there and you go to Dealey Plaza, there is not any, perhaps between midnight and 7 Central Time. Maybe nobody does this, but every hour of daylight, I promise you, somebody is dodging traffic, because the traffic never stops.
Yeah.
You take your chances, your life into your hands, and you run out into the middle of the street. You snap this selfie on the 2nd X, and you run back the curb as quick as you did. It must be millions of people have done that. This isn't new, but this was important to me, because this was, I was finally here. I was finally doing it. My screensaver come up. There we go.
That'd be a just incredibly surreal experience.
Oh, so surreal. But even more surreal than that, pull up the picture of Sniper Nest 3.
Now, hey, before I do that, I want to ask you a newbie question. You said the 2nd X. I'm kind of curious, what's the where's the first X, and what's the meaning of the X's?
The first X would correspond to, and again, man, I could have prepared so much better, but the famous Alkins number 6 photo, when the first shot rings out, the Secret Service agents are turned back to look at the school book depository, and a lot of people look at that photograph and say, that's Lee Harvey Oswald standing in the doorway of the Texas School Depository, which it is not. It's Billy Lovelady. But when you look at that famous picture, the Secret Service is looking backwards. A couple of them are. They're obviously reacting. And when you look through the windshield, you can see JFK's hands up to his neck and Jackie already holding his arm. That's the first shot. That's the first X. Now, the X's on the street are not officially sanctioned by the city. They're just
interesting,
put there by researchers. And when you look carefully at this picture towards the bottom, you can see it's been done over.
As I say, it looks a little haphazardly
many
done
times. They've tried to remove it. Of course, they re-asphalt the street. Sure. And every time somebody else goes back out there and puts the X back again, there's a lot. You can imagine the dispute about whether the X is 2 feet this way or that way. But the point is, the first X is the first shot, and The second X
That's what I
is the
figured.
second shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured the second one was the kill shot, I guess.
Yeah.
Man.
So
Okay,
that's
so hey, you
pretty.
want me to go to the Sniper Nest 3? Sorry
When you
to
talk,
stop you on that. I know
no, no, no.
you were flowing so good there, but I just had to ask because eventually that is on my bucket list. I was going to tell you that I can't remember if I told you last year. The only experience I've had like this is about 5 or 6 years ago. I did go to Memphis. I did go to the museum, and I stood right there on the in the. I don't know if you have you been to the hotel where Dr. King was killed.
No, although I
Oh, the
would see.
motel.
Yeah, I mean that would be. I've been in Memphis before, but
Yeah,
that's never even
it was
occurred to me.
incredible. Yeah, it was. I mean, again, it's weird because it's like it's a museum now. Half of it's a museum, but they preserve the area of the motel where he was killed. They even have the old school kind of cars in there. And when you go up around, they have it all in kind of glass, kind of plexiglass walls,
Yeah,
and you can still see into the motel room where Dr. King's luggage is and his cigarette ashtray. And I guess the surreal experience that I had was there was a black man standing at the glass. I was just walking up there by myself. My ex-wife didn't want to go up there at the time, and I walked right up there. Then there was a square on the concrete on the balcony where his body laid. So I
yeah,
realized, oh my God, like I'm like a foot away right now from where he was. And I looked
yeah.
over and this man, I'll never forget, this man had tears running down his face. And I caught this exact moment. I still feel blessed to have witnessed. This guy was a truck driver. He told me, he said he had never been to Memphis. He had just done a delivery early that morning. And somebody said, have you never been to that motel? You need to go over there while you're waiting with this delivery and see it. So I got the chance to witness when this man, probably I think in his 40s or late 30s, first time in his life, got to stand there just like I was doing, and that was probably the most surreal experience I've ever had. That it comes anywhere close to what this might have been like for you. And I'm sorry to
Oh, for
sabotage
sure.
your storytelling. I just wanted to share that with you because I could not remember if you and I talked about it. I know you wanted to show the Sniper Nest #3. I assume that this is in the book depository area here.
Yeah, and I am putting up a couple of others. This is one
Okay,
particular
sure.
angle, and just as you can imagine, there's also glass here. And so it's really a big empty warehouse, except for this corner. This is the southeast corner of the 6th floor, and we're looking at it from the viewpoint if you had been like standing behind the assassin, if Lee Harvey Oswald, if it was Lee Harvey Oswald. So you can see the 6th floor, and I have other views of the street, like from not this window, because you can't go in here, right? You see the old wooden hardwood floor,
Yeah.
and the windows are cloudy and dirty, and they're not even the when you really dig into this, the windows that you see here in this corner aren't even the original windows, but they're a very good representation. Perhaps they were moved, but there's an entire story about the owner of the building taking out the window, and it's the actual window is actually on display. Perhaps I don't know if it's at the 6th floor museum or the National Archives. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But you can look out the window right to the right of this window and see the view to Elm Street below and say to yourself, well, how in the world do you make that shot on a target that's moving away from you? But you think to yourself, okay, well, whoever it was, like, I do not dispute that shots came from the 6th floor window. That's not up for dispute. The rifle was found there, and the shell casings were found there. What I dispute really is, was it Oswald or was it somebody else? Was Oswald really in the lunchroom the whole time? Like, that's where I'm at. But as far as a shot coming from this window, when you look out this window and you ask yourself, well, why would you shoot? Why would you not shoot while the limo is coming straight towards you from Houston Street?
Yeah, good
Like
point.
the limo turns from Maine on to Houston. There's a whole thing about that in the Secret Service. But when the limo is coming straight at the school book depository, straight at this window on Houston Street, no, it's not until they make that really weird left-handed, very acute angle turn right at the corner where the book depository is. What a coincidence that they planned the route to go right through there.
Yeah.
And it causes the limo to slow down to 11 miles an hour. But even so, when you look out that window, and again, I grew up hunting. Okay. It was just part of my upbringing, my childhood. I know enough to know that targets moving away from you doesn't matter what speed. When you have a really clumsy World War II surplus Italian rifle with a very bad reputation for accuracy, the world's worst shoulder weapon with a scope mounted for a left-handed person that hadn't actually been sighted in. How do you make that shot so accurately? Like, that's just another thread, right?
Yeah. It's all part of that unraveling that we were talking about earlier.
Okay, listen, I'm having a great time. Just calling out that it's been an hour.
Sure. Yeah. I just didn't know. Like, I know you had a couple or 2 or 3 more images there. Did you want to share those, or
yeah? I mean, I'm just saying.
You want to stop and call this part 1?
No, you're gonna edit out the fluff.
Well, hey, the fluff is part of the organic experience, right? So
okay,
this is
but
yeah, like I said, I'm okay. Like, it's just one of those things where I'm enjoying the storytelling part, and I know you have a good audience. I mean, you still have 56 people in your stream. I have at least 15 in mine on my end over here. Feel free to continue to go if you want to go over. Maybe at least go over those last 3 images that you have kind of prepared. Because again, it's fascinating, and you're still bringing up elements that I myself have not ever come across. I've not seen before, and it's further just justifying. I will say this before you go any further. I know that I've been wrestling, no pun intended, with the question, why should we wrestle with history? And I think your method that you approach the JFK assassination and the conspiracy, I truly feel like since 1979-ish to now, I feel like you're a great example of someone that has not just casually studied Kennedy and the assassination and the conspiracy. I feel like you've truly wrestled with it, questioned it, were an understandably skeptic. I am curious about something on a personal level. It's completely fine. Okay. Even before this scenario, would you consider yourself a natural kind of believer in conspiracies? Are you a relatively conspiratorial person? I know I have friends that I respect a lot that they love conspiracy theories. They gravitate towards those. Are you more prone to them in general, or is it really just the JFK one that really has gravitated to it the most?
Yeah. Okay. The answer is no. I'm not naturally a believer in conspiracies.
Yeah. I didn't pick that up. Yeah.
No, and you won't. And we really landed on the moon. Mm-hmm. Okay, in 1969. It wasn't faked. The Earth is not flat. Okay.
We're not lizard people. That's actually
no lizard people. You want to talk about? Okay, all right. You brought it up. All right, you
I opened up Pandora's box now.
You sure have, because you would think that on a channel like mine, we would be talking about how James Angleton had a file, a 40, 60, 80 page file about Lee Harvey Oswald on his desk on November 21st, 1963. They had been reading his mom's mail. They knew about Oswald for 4 years prior to the assassination. There were 3 different plots to assassinate Kennedy: Chicago, Dallas, and I always forget the third one. Miami, Florida, somewhere, Tampa. Maybe it's Tampa. You'd think we'd be talking about that, but what's the number one comment, Skip, on your TikTok channel after 3 years and 3,500 videos? What's the What's the number one comment that you get, Skip? Oh, okay. I'm glad you asked. I'll tell you. Pull up frame 312.
I'm sure
please.
some of your followers know.
Oh yeah. No, I'm gonna be getting it right now in the chat while you're pulling up this picture.
Okay.
Frame 312. This to me, this is the
oh, got it.
this is the mother of all conspiracy nonsense. I just let's take a minute with this. Oh, I'll tell you what. Before we do that, this is going to blow your mind. Let's take that picture down and let's put up Zapruder 3. Zapruder 3 copies. Okay. Just double checking here what it says. Okay, there's 3 copies here of the Zapruder film. And let's start with the one. I mean, you know, the people can't read the print that this small, but the strip of film, the moving picture excerpt on your right, on the far right here, is the original Zapruder film, and then the one in the middle is a copy that was made for Secret Service, and then the image on the left is the second Secret Service copy. Okay, what's the first thing you notice is the, you know, obviously the differing qualities of reproduction on this film. But on the original Zapruder film, there's a lot of information between the sprocket holes. You know what sprocket holes are? There are these holes right there, the little white holes, where the sprocket in the camera moved the film past the aperture. A lot of people don't know how movie cameras work, but in 1963, Zapruder's Bell and Howell camera was state of the art, and the film was exposed at a frame rate of 18.3 frames per second. How many frames are we looking at here? 3, 6, 9, 8 or 9, right? 8. 8 frames out of 486 total frames. 486 total frames. It's about 6 feet of film. It was double 8 film. So much like a cassette or an 8-track, if you're old enough to remember, there's audio. There's information on one half of the film. It's in a cartridge, one half the film, and then you get to the end of it and you flip the cartridge over and record on the other side. That's how this worked. Okay, so the film is 26 seconds and it's 486 frames and 18.3 frames per second. That means that one frame of this film represents 1/18 of a second. An 18th of a second. That's faster than a blink. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So much is made about the individual frames of the Zapruder film, but when people get on my TikTok and they say, I've seen the video where the driver turns around and shoots JFK. Well, first of all,
Jesus,
you wouldn't believe how common this is, Robbie. I'm just saying. Okay.
I just wonder how it becomes so common.
It's so, I'm about to tell you, it's so common. People referring to it as a video and acting as if they have seen something that none of the rest of us have, when really that's just the power of suggestion, right? If I point to you and tell you to look at something and see something, which I'm about to demonstrate, then your brain sees it, like those things. Okay, what do you hear? You hear this garbled sound. Well, you're only going to hear the garbled sound as what the words that you're reading on the screen, right? You've seen those videos too.
Sure, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They play the audio and you read the words and you say, oh yeah, they're clearly saying, that's clearly what they're saying. Now you look at the next set of words and now it sounds like they're saying that set of words. Okay, that's just the power of suggestion. Here's some ambiguity there. I got sidetracked.
It's all right.
486 frames of this film at the rate of 1 frame for 1/18 of a second. 26 seconds total. And people want to talk about frame 313. Frame 313, I'm not going to put up, you don't see it. You really don't see it on YouTube a lot. It is the fraction of the second in which JFK's head is clearly torn. It's clearly the kill shot. His head basically explodes. There's brain matter, blood, tissue, everything that goes up in the air and all over everything, including the back of the limo and the motorcycle rider, cops next, right next to them. All this is terrible. Nobody shows frame 313 because that'll get flagged for sure on TikTok.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But what doesn't get flagged and what nobody wants to talk about is frame 312.
I'll put that back up there.
There you go. Because this represents 1/18 of a second in time. Now, too bad we don't have a laser pointer in this context, but I just, this is Kennedy, what's going to happen. But just for a minute, I want you to look at the driver, William Greer, the left-hand seat of the limo. Okay. And then right next to him is the agent in charge, Special Agent Roy Kellerman, who was in charge of the motorcade that day, or at least in charge of this car. Okay. This is the SX 300, the famous limo. Okay, we're looking at Bill Greer and we're looking at Roy Kellerman. Now, clearly, like it really does look. We know for a fact that William Greer turned around twice. And think about how quickly this happened. But this is frame 312. If we looked at 311, it would look very similar to this, right? Mm-hmm. We know what frame 313 looks like, but you look at the first 4 or 5 seconds, 4 or 5 frames right before frame 312, which nobody ever wants to stop and examine because it's not,
it's not a simple way to look at it.
Right.
So much time.
So here it really appears, and it appears that way because it is William Greer, Bill Greer is turned around and looked back at JFK. But right in the middle of Bill Greer, the driver's head, what do you see there?
Oh, the driver?
Well,
no, you mean just in between them?
Yeah, imagine it's the top of Bill Greer's head, right? Too bad we can't zoom it. I've done some reviews on this. It's not even funny. Okay, looks like a silver weapon.
Yeah, I was going to say that it looks like almost like a silver kind of like barricade sort of kind of area there. Is there? I assume that there's no way physically for him to even turn around to shoot Kennedy.
Well, let's think about it. First of all, he'd have to have been left-handed, probably, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And then that would have meant that a shoulder holster, if he was wearing one. Now, people really want to get picky. They'll nitpick this argument, but let's just say that nowhere along the motorcade route that started, 15, 20 minutes ago at Love Field did we see Bill Greer with anything that looked like a shoulder holster, but let's assume that he had one or would have had to have one, would have been under his right arm, since he would have had to have been left-handed to pull this off, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Except for one thing, when you look a little bit closer, you see his left hand down in front of him.
You sure do. Yep.
Yeah. So that means that he could not actually be pointing a weapon at JFK. So what is that silver shiny thing on the top of Roy Kellerman's head?
Mm-hmm.
It's Roy Kellerman's head.
Yeah.
It's the sun reflecting off his bill.
It looks to me, I didn't see anything. It just looks to me like the sun off the top of his hair.
And Bill
his head doesn't look suspicious to me.
And by the way, it's shining off of Bill Greer's hair too at the same time. This is the sun reflection shining off of JFK's head.
Yep. It's all coming from the same angle.
Yeah.
All of them. So.
It's the sun. Okay. In 1989 or so, there was a book called Behold a Pale Horse by a guy named Bill Moore. Bill Moore was the guy who started the driver did it theory. Like, he was the godfather of all conspiracy theories. And this is an answer to your question about if I drifted towards conspiracies or not. But where did this driver did it theory come from? It came from Bill Moore. And his book, Behold a Pale Horse. You should search that sometime.
I will. Yeah.
Bill Moore presented a bunch of different theories. Perhaps, in every conspiracy theory, there's just a small element of truth that gets twisted by the power of suggestion into something that's way disproportionately, couldn't possibly be true. And Bill Moore presents many things in his book, and not the least of those was the reasoning why JFK was assassinated in the first place was because he had just recently signed a peace treaty with aliens. Think about that JFK knew that there had been contact made with aliens, and that he was about to expose the whole thing. Also, Marilyn Monroe knew she was going to expose the whole thing, which is ultimately why she was ultimately, there's that branches off into the Marilyn Monroe.
It's another conspiracy there too. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, I don't buy into any of that. There definitely was a conspiracy with JFK,
well,
and
as you can see, you can end up down some slippery slopes on some conspiracies, and you're getting to the point where you're in the irrational, pretty hardcore.
Yeah, like it's nuts, and I don't have the time to respond to all of them. Obviously, I don't. But I went through a brief period. This was weird because I see the driver did it comment every day. I went through. It wasn't this year. It was last summer, perhaps. I went through like a 4-week, 5-week period where what everybody wanted to talk about was, and actually put frame 312 right back up on the screen for a second.
Sure, yeah.
Because right after the driver did it theory came the comment, when I don't remember 6 people being in the car before. When did this happen? And then the response to, okay, people legit in their minds, they have never been able to grasp.
Yeah, we're getting into some famous psychological issue territory here.
Well,
misremembering things.
Yeah, the Mandela effect, right?
Yep.
And so people, I'd say, what are you talking about? Connollys were always in the car. Here is a news camera footage of the Connollys getting into the limo with the Kennedys. There was always 2 Secret Service guys up front, and Connollys in the center, and Kennedy's in the rear. 6 people. It's always been like that. And the response to my response is, oh, it's Mandela effect. I'm from a different timeline. Pet peeve is that people use the term Mandela effect to imply, if not say directly, that they're on a different timeline. And that's not it at all. The Mandela effect, famously named for Nelson Mandela because of this one thing. A lot of people remember incorrectly when Nelson Mandela died. Do you remember?
I've heard it. I cannot remember when he died, but I could have sworn it was much later. Or, I would say it was much, much later. Didn't he? I could be misremembering entirely. I thought he died in the 2000s somewhere much later, didn't he? Like, didn't people think he was dead for a long time and he wasn't at all?
That's kind of that's exactly right. A lot of people misremembered. They thought
they misremembered that he died. He never died. Yeah,
he died in prison, but that wasn't true. He was freed. He didn't pass away until 2013.
That's what I thought.
So the phenomenon,
sworn, yeah.
So the phenomenon,
he becomes president of South Africa, right? Like after being removed from.
Okay, well, this podcast is not about Nelson Mandela, but
no, I know, I get that.
Also, I don't have the answer, but misremembering history does not mean you're living in an alternate. I don't believe in alternate timelines. Okay, that's nuts. Sorry. you're experiencing the phenomenon of misremembering history. And there are many famous examples of the Mandela effect, none of them having to do with alternate timelines or the what do they call it in Marvel, the multiverse. We're not in a multiverse.
Well, multiverse theory.
Yeah, no, that's not it.
What the full thing
there, there were always 6 people in the car, and the Fruit of the Loom.
Oh yeah, the Fruit of the Loom logo.
Have a cornucopia.
Yeah, the cornucopia
in it. And there's dozens of examples of that.
There are. Yep.
That's the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is real. And it's people sort of collectively misremembering. Now that blurs the lines between the psychological phenomenon and the history phenomenon, but people are misremembering history.
But obviously, if you do that, all you're doing is you're murkying the truth. We can't start making the truth subjective, because all it does over time, it just kind of bastardizes the historical, objective nature of it. I don't know. It definitely gets kind of complicated. And now I'm kind of curious on platforms, and I'm not blaming TikTok this for all. I'm just saying, the way our social media is structured, do you think it's built in such a way that it further feeds these kind of problems? Do you think that they're exacerbated even more because of shorter kind of way access to knowledge, faster way of kind of seeking that? Is it an attention span thing? Is it purely just a human flaw, probably that we've always had? It just might seem more magnified during this era of social media. I don't know if, in your personal opinion, do you think that the outlets that we have access to, are they making those kind of problems worse?
Yeah, I am wrestling with my own the way I consume social media, TikTok. It has become a tremendous time vampire, and I'm not even I have slumped in creating, which provides dopamine and stimulates my brain and causes me to get excited again. When I am able to create instead of just consume, I feel better.
Yeah, I agree.
But when I slide into simply consuming, then I start to get paralyzed. Not I don't mean literally physically. I just mean I suffer from. I'm always seeking that next dopamine hit, right? And I'll sit scrolling for hours, and I'll procrastinate on things that I know need to be done. And so after 3 years, I think I'm more concerned about my own mental health and what I'm consuming. I still get inspired, and when I see especially history creators, when I see them, they're still putting out a tremendous effort, and they're learning the platform, and their videos are getting better all the time. That inspires me. I need other history creators to inspire me, because if your TikTok feed was just the major news outlets, man, that would just be depressing.
Oh yeah, God,
just terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
It really
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which network you watch either. It's the same. It's the same.
You're right.
Just if that's all you're consuming, it's depressing as hell. And I think I need to put more effort into creating, because I feel better when I do. That's it. Bottom line. I just chose JFK. I could start a whole other TikTok, or I could rename this one to the Kennedys and slide over into the RFK side of things, which is just as weird, by the way. Some of it.
Well, you also have to give yourself some grace and credit too. That I think you've built enough trust and genuine connection with most of your followers that many of them are probably just very interested in history in general. They would probably follow you wherever you went, because they've kind of gotten more accustomed and attached to you and your style over those years. And that's what I also respect about it is you're right. The history content creators are very talented, and there's different styles for everybody. Like I respect that. I mean, there's a content creator. I don't know if you've heard of her before, but on Instagram, I didn't come across her until this year. But she's a young woman named History May. It's like history_May. She doesn't even talk. Like she just kind of does this thing where she stares into the camera and she shows these paintings and has this music behind it. And she breaks down these awesome little kind of 30 to 40-second little clips of it, maybe even less. But they're so good. Like it's not like I don't feel dumber or more depressed for consuming her work or your work or a lot of other work that I see. I think I'm just genuinely impressed at how creative people can be on the way that they express. I'm going to try to have Emily Poole on the podcast pretty soon too. She's a very, very good like AP history content creator.
What's her
very,
handle?
very like respected. Her name's Emily Poole. I'll have to text you her name later. She's very good. I think her TikTok's too poolful school. I think is her TikTok.
Okay.
But she's very, very good as a history creator. She has that kind of charisma in her style that does that. But I guess it's also just it's an area that's very oversaturated. So it's right for people like me. It's just really young and starting into it. It's kind of really difficult to kind of figure out where to go. I think the best thing for me, I'm going to take advice from you there, Skip, is I'm going to keep making content because I feel really good when I make it. It's making me critically think. I have to build. I have to research. I have to create things.
Yeah.
And whenever I doom scroll, I know people call it doom scrolling. When I catch myself doom scrolling for 20 minutes straight or an hour, I don't know if you feel like me. Sometimes you feel like you come out of a fog. You're almost like, what the hell have I been doing for the last hour? Like, what else could I have been doing? Yeah. So it's one of those things where I get it. I mean, that's kind of part of the algorithm is to keep your attention, but it can be a slippery slope. I hate to do that metaphor again, but it's very challenging for sure.
Can you see my hat?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Onward. Yeah.
Onward.
I can't see what it says underneath of it though. It's a little pixelated. Yeah, what does it say underneath?
It says onward through the fog.
Oh, there you go. Through the fog. That's a great hat.
Okay, my wife picked this out for me. And I wear hats. I wear hats all the time, 350 days a year. I wear a hat. This one is the latest. It's my new favorite, and I think it represents exactly where I'm at today, which is, I've been in a fog. TikTok. Am I now an indentured servant to TikTok? Because if you aren't creating every day, the algorithm shifts away. That's
what I've heard. I've heard people say you almost have. I have a friend that's really good with TikTok and other things, but she implied to me you almost have to post almost 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does anybody have a normal job and do that? Like, I don't know. Unless you just binge record a lot of stuff and then drop a bunch. I don't know how you and others do it. It seems genuinely, it's admirable that you're able to do that, but genuinely exhausting. Like, I can see why there is a high amount of burnout that goes on for people.
Do the math on 3,600 videos over 3 years.
Oh my God.
Okay, so and obviously I didn't do it every day. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you run the math out, that's 1,200 videos a year, right? So that's 100 a month. Mm-hmm. So that's 3 to 5 a day or more. And what I finally started doing was I would take longer form content and trim it down to the best 60 or 90 seconds of it. And so I had to become really good at picking out what that was. It's still hard to have a hook, something attention grabbing at the very beginning. If you want somebody who's really good at both history and hooks, that's Deanna Falchuk.
Oh yeah, you introduced me to her on that live stream we did. She is phenomenal at it. She's very very good.
My goodness, I wanted to be her. But she's she's still out there. She's not on it every day anymore. I mean, we have lives, and we have a job, hopefully, and we're trying to support family or loved ones. Not to mention, try to keep a little money in the bank. And so And nobody is getting rich like doing this. Even well, except maybe that, like the people with 1 million or more followers, maybe. But even then, like they're like, if they're not constant, my point is, if they're not constantly producing, then people slip away. And when my followers come on and text me and they say, "Hey, are you okay? You haven't posted anything in like 3 days." I'm like, "No, dude, I blew off this entire weekend. I didn't do anything, and it felt great. I stayed in my pajamas. I ate crappy food.
It was therapeutic for you.
I watched The West Wing for the umpteenth time.
Good choice.
But I'm sitting there on my phone still, like scrolling, like like a mouse in a wheel. I'm just constantly scrolling. I didn't create anything. And at the end of a weekend like that, you're like, ugh.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
It was fun while I was doing it, but man, I didn't get anything done. Well, that's the danger. That's the danger of all social media.
Yeah.
Is that we're way too wrapped up in it. I don't know how does that have, I guess when it comes to that, I'm glad that I picked history. I was going to be a history major, and then decided business would pay more. But I had enough credit hours to have a history minor, so I definitely graduated with a history minor. And I don't know, I just have always loved it. TikTok, it was just a hobby. It was just I never imagined that it would become the thing that it did. But I went from just another average dude, definitely not a teenager or Gen Z, millennial, like I'm Gen X. Okay. We don't care about anything. Why would I get over 200,000 followers on TikTok, the hottest social media platform in the last 3 years? I'm not convinced that it's going to be around forever. Like, it's just that's a discussion for an entirely different time. I'm not going to have all my eggs in one basket. If TikTok were to go away tomorrow, I think I share the sentiment with a lot of people who say, I'm kind of done with it now after all this time, 3 years.
I'm kind of curious, Skip, is this one of the reasons why you recently started the YouTube channel? Like, are you considering sort of, I mean, it's not just that, it includes that theory of not having all your eggs in a basket, but I'm kind of curious also do you think you will do your content in a different way, or are you going to stick to more YouTube short kind of things? Or are you planning on experimenting a little when you go over to your YouTube channel more fully?
The nuts and bolts of it is, I think that I want to start moving my followers over to YouTube, because and I'm on a bunch of different social medias. I put most of my content still on TikTok. I started moving some of it over to YouTube. I have recently, fired up this studio again for the sole purpose of creating YouTube like widescreen format and longer length stuff. Even though, like I said, I mean, hasn't this already been done before? I'm by no means the only JFK researcher, YouTuber, whatever creator. I think I will continue to create, and I'm not saying that TikTok is going to go away tomorrow. I am for expanding. You can find me on I'm over Facebook. I ought to be over Instagram, but Instagram is like the next the thing after YouTube in terms of like what people are, where people already are. Okay. So the handle's the same at YouTube. You've got it up on the screen. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I figured I would drop that in there. I'm not the best at doing that kind of stuff yet.
No, it's perfect.
But I'm doing my best at trying to help you out.
It looks great. And so on other, like, there are slight variations of the name on different platforms. And if you can see a complete list of all of these on my link tree, which is also at the top of all my social profiles. So like if you find one, you click the link tree, it shows you all the others. If you don't already, I would suggest getting a link tree.
Okay. I'll do that.
Because when you look at my link tree and how I have I'm able to put resources there for people who are really interested in the case, specifically JFK. The thing I would say to you is go to my link tree and follow me on the other places in case TikTok goes away. But also a lot of the things that I talk about, a lot of the archives and resources are out there already. They are all on my link tree. It will take you there. A couple of other YouTube channels that I follow are out there, like Out of the Blank. You should spend some time with that guy, whose name incidentally is Robbie from Out of the Blank. So here I'm shamelessly promoting a different YouTube podcast. I've been on his podcast. That guy, man, he's a machine. Like, I just sit on my couch while I'm doing this, but this guy he's doing a studio podcast like yours. But like the National Archives, the JFK files, the individual frames of the Zapruder film, or the different versions of the Zapruder film.
Can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to show people who are watching the video. If you go to his link tree, like you said, it has like all of your outlets here. I mean, it is so many different places, but this is I can see why you would recommend this.
It's too much for people to scroll through.
It's almost, for me, it's almost overwhelming.
I need to edit it a little bit, and like some of the stuff is like I should shift the order around. Like the original executive orders are there, but so is the executive order in which the administration seeks basically to what's the word? I'll choose the word undo some history, which makes me extremely nervous. But you can all I'm trying to do is put this stuff that I talk about into one place so that you can find it. But also that link tree will exist in the event that I ever am expelled from the TikTok community, or TikTok itself as an app goes away. What are we going to do? We're still going to be out there. I want to keep these connections. So I want to follow your YouTube channel and your other socials, as well as some of my other favorite history creators, because I want to stay. It's about at that point, right? We have exited the social media world, and we have built a community of like-minded history people.
I agree with you.
It's not.
It's one of my hopes from this is to learn things from you guys, but I'm trying to build a connection and relationship with you and others that are on YouTube and all these other places, because I could learn so much from you, and you never know when we can help each other out too. I mean, there's way more that we all have in common than what we don't have in common.
Yeah, for sure. And what again, it's not. I largely stay away from being political on my TikTok. Like, that's not what it's for. Okay. But I think that is part of wrestling with history. Is it can become political. That's just the reality. One of the books that my history teacher, first year of college, talked about in interpretations of it. Like, history is sometimes, the study of history is sometimes framed as if it's an interpretation. We're gonna read this history book, but it's that author's interpretation of other history books that have already been written. So there's no final word on anything. I don't know. Can't point to a single history book that gets it all exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's certainly some very good ones out there, but and I keep coming back to your theme, but wrestling with history is sort of wrestling with our interpretation of
Exactly.
history.
Well put.
And
Yeah, it is.
and so that, and I just remember that as the name of the history. I don't remember the author of it, but it was, readings of, interpretations of. It was about examining history through different lenses. I'd like to think that that's what I'm doing.
I feel like I need that book. Yeah, and I do. I do feel like that's what you're doing. I think you and a lot of content creators are trying to create content that does that, because I feel like you're not just creating content for your followers, but it's for you too. I think it's a journey that you're taking. You're trying to challenge yourself, and yeah, and it's part of that. I really feel like you're somebody that wrestles with these topics whenever you're covering them, and and I think it's another reason why you feel maybe it is either directly or indirectly leading to you feeling more productive, feeling more positive about these kind of experiences, because we're creating something, we're having to work for it, we feel good about ourselves and accomplished, and we're not just, as you say, consuming. Because I don't think that we're meant to only consume. We're strongly meant to share and create. And I think that's kind of what our goal here to do.
Yeah. So I, and just, I hear as we wind this down, I'm
Sure. Yeah.
really going to wax philosophical on you now,
It's
which
okay.
is
I love philosophy, so it's already
that
one of my favorite areas. So
that part of wrestling with history is going to be wrestling with how the history that we're living in now is going to be interpreted later.
Good question.
And man, that's a struggle for me, because there are things that that I wish weren't true now, but obviously are actually true. How are historians? Oh, you had that question already ready.
No, it's good. That's why I'm just glad that we're getting along so well, because a lot of these questions,
I'm super nervous about it. I'm super
I am
nervous
too.
about
Yeah.
it. Because I can see how we can look back on our history, and let's just limit it to the U.S. history for now, and how we view our history has a lot to do with whatever tribe we happen to belong to now. And by tribe, I'm just talking about that way of thinking, the people who you agree with. It is very tribal, because a lot of the things that we say or do, comments that we make, these are sometimes these are indicators that we throw out to say, I'm in this particular tribe or that particular tribe. So we're revealing ourselves in somewhat coded language, but also history is being interpreted by several different groups of people. And I think one group of people I think we're all sort of looking for an interpretation of history that is going to fit with our personal views. But is that the real way that it happened? Were the were the slaveholders really benevolent masters? And did the enslaved people really have it better off because of being enslaved than they would have had they just remained? Look at a question like that. It's hard. That's hard to come to grips with, because there's a viewpoint that says the slaveholders were benevolent masters. The founders of our nation were the best possible people doing the best thing possible. But we know now that I love this. Is this one of the many challenges with revisionist history? I think the JFK history might be still being revised, or maybe unrevised. But I'm really watching I'm consuming other history creators to see how they're dealing with some of the ways that revisionist history is being written. That like we're watching some of these things happen in real time. That's super concerning for me. I'm in the middle of it. Like it's happening right now with me, and I am suddenly aware more so than ever at any point in my life of hello.
My wife wanted to say hi. Skip said hello. She wanted to pop in at least one time during the show.
Is that okay? You also listening on the headphones to the whole thing?
Oh no, I don't know. She's probably too busy trying to get our daughter to sleep. See, our daughter's been doing some sleep regression here lately with all the walking and growing and everything like that. So yeah, it's just popping in.
Well, anyway, I am very interested in preserving history, even if I have to wrestle with it. How about that?
I love it. Yeah.
I would like a true and honest historian to say, hey, it's not just about, hey, did you know, or on this day, although those are great also.
Yeah.
But do you understand how this piece of history shaped who we are today and how we view it, how we interpret it as part of who we are? And that we're constantly, like, we tend to gravitate to people who hold the same beliefs, right? And I'll give you another tough one. Like, America is a Christian nation. You either sign on to that and you identify with that group of people, or you do not. But was America founded as a Christian nation is a question that we must all wrestle with. That has not anything to do with JFK, right? Why then? Hey, stay in your lane, Skip. Like, why are you bringing that up on a JFK channel? Hey, I'm living it just like everybody else. I'm living the same history that you are. So from my limited view of the JFK desk, I'm going to ask the question, like, by the way, did you know that the Smithsonian Institution now has to review all of their exhibits so that, you know, the ugliness of some of the parts of our history isn't on full display for them? Like, we'd rather downplay these things. So is downplaying not so good things in our history, is that what we really need, or just what we want? You know,
that's such a great thing you brought up. I'm pretty soon I'm going to be doing my first public lecture at a local museum in town in Russellville, Kentucky, called the Sikh Museum. It's mainly for like paying honor to African Americans in the community and racial segregation people like Alice Dunnigan and people like that. And I've been trying to rack my brain on what the message is going to be, and to kind of go along with what you said, I've been kind of settling on the theme that it's going to be a picture is worth 1,000 questions as long as you have the courage to ask them. And I plan on looking at images that are very divisive, very controversial. Like a good example would be the Emmett Till photograph. Do you remember from his funeral that his mom wanted to be shown? Now that kind of a photograph immediately is going to polarize people. It's going to make people very uncomfortable, but it's kind of like the banning of books in certain states. I think it was Mississippi, I could be wrong, that banned To Kill a Mockingbird because it was labeled as making people, quote, feel uncomfortable. And I told my students, sometimes in life we're meant to feel uncomfortable. We need to feel uncomfortable to be able to address things. It doesn't necessarily mean that we need to wallow in misery, but I think that we need to address our black eyes like full on, like the things that we are ashamed of, and wrestle with those things, and then try to come to terms with, and I'll finish with this, because I know we both need to take a break on this too, but I want to say Ken Burns is one of my favorite Americans ever. Like, I can just watch the documentaries. You know, I fell in love with the Civil War when as a kid. He's coming out with the new American Revolution one in November. Very excited about that. And last week he was on Theo Vaughn's this past weekend podcast, and he said in all the American documentaries he's ever done, whether it's Muhammad Ali or Jackie Robinson's Civil War, he says the ultimate goal, and I think what me and you are getting to, is that we're always trying to figure out who we are and who are we as Americans. Like, it's ultimately that when me and you study history, I study it to wrestle for myself, selfishly, and also as a member of this community, as a member of this country, because I'm trying to figure out at 41 years old, who am I and who are we as Americans? And I don't know if you agree with that or not. Is that a fair place for me to kind of end it on my half tonight, just from my perspective on the whole value that I see in me and you doing what we do, whether it is professionally or as a teacher like I am, or doing what we're doing with content. I feel like what we're trying to do is at least a noble effort. Whether or not that'll be rewarded in a monetizing way, who knows? But I feel like it's noble.
100%. I think when I think that when, for me, monetization on TikTok ended just because the TikTok went a different way, and whatever, I'm over it. There was only one thing left for me to do on TikTok, really something personal to me, and that is I enjoyed collaborating with other history creators, and the only thing that sets me apart from real history creators is the following that I have. And so the thing that I'm able to actually do is give other history creators a boost, whether it's the Titanic or general history. Melissa's she's bigger than me. She doesn't need my help. I enjoy this community, and I want to support this community. The very real, what can I do? What can I do? The very real thing that I can do is I have this platform, and I have the ability to introduce other history creators to this corner of the world anyway, and say, look, if you like this, then you're going to absolutely love this. Because these and by the way, a lot of them are high school history teachers. Like, I think that teachers need a lot more support than they get, and I have to imagine that history teachers, amongst them, even, like, nothing against the science teachers, love science. But
they need their own support system too, right? I'm sure science teachers have their own social media support too. Yeah, we all need it.
History's kind of my thing. What can I do? I can find and collaborate and boost history creators who are, maybe they're just starting out, or maybe they're just content to do their thing they're not looking to, I could get up to 1 million followers, and it'll probably take me 10 more years. This app ain't gonna last that long. But what can I be doing right now? We're going to continue to build the community. And if it's not this platform, it'll be other platforms. So I'm just going to jump platforms. I'm going to try to get it out there and connect with the history folk as much as I can. I like it. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's very important. And I have the ability to say that to 200,000 people and expand the network and say, hey, I think that you're going to like what this history creator is doing. I'm turning my TV off. So that's what I think I'm doing now. And I'm going to keep churning it out. I'm going to keep examining history. Man, we'll have to do this again, because
absolutely, Skip. As long as you keep finding value in what you're doing and you feel really good about it, I really hope, as one of your many followers, that you continue doing what you're doing in some capacity, whether it is on YouTube or something. I'm just really blessed to be able to have a conversation with you like this. I mean, you and I basically had a Joe Rogan style podcast, or Lex Friedman one. We did almost right at 2 hours. I used to do those kind of podcasts all the time. And when I teach all day, I'm teaching 6 classes within almost an hour apiece. Talking like for long terms, it's not a big problem. So for me on that kind of thing, but for me, like I said, I just hope that you continue to do it as long as you feel you're healthy and you feel like you're getting, we always have frustrations and things like that, but I think if it starts to wear on your mental health more, than maybe a sabbatical or something is needed to intervene. But I like your possible remedy, without telling us we should, is that if we kind of do a little bit less consuming, but maybe more creating, you're going to probably feel much better about that in whatever realm you decide to do that in. So, but yeah, I said to say thank you, Skip. I'm just thank you for taking me under your wing last year and helping me and other new creators get some kind of a following. I mean, I have a lot of, I would probably say at least 200 of the 500 something I have are people from yours, that your followers that you recommended had come over to me. And now I stopped doing it for almost 6 or 7 months with my mother's health and raising a newborn. I really shouldn't have stopped entirely like that. Because like you said, the algorithm will punish you bad for doing something like that. So would one of your pieces of advice for me just to stay healthy and to enjoy what I'm doing, what I got advice from JD from the History Underground on YouTube is that he said to be consistent, whether it's 2 weeks, once a month, once a week, just be consistent with what you're doing and put value into them. And he says sometimes the videos that you least expect are the ones that will boom. And then some you put a lot of effort in don't do as well. And he's just like said, just kind of have humility and just enjoy what you're doing.
Okay, so all right, so I'll leave you with this, and yeah, we really got to call it, but
yeah.
But I'll just give you this very simple thing that you should already be doing, which is if you get inspired and you're like, oh man, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that. I'm going to tell you to just keep talking, run on your phone, one nonstop 30-minute video and have the stuff written out, like make the notes ahead of you. Okay. And then just shoot for 30 minutes nonstop. And then dice that up into 60-second hits and save them.
Gotcha.
And then schedule the post. I don't get up every morning and try to make a new video.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I will make 5 in one night and save them for the next morning. And at lunch, I can go and hit one that I recorded last night. Easy peasy. All right. I also don't discount reruns. I'm kind of like doing that now. If you were watching 2 years ago, you would know, but if you're a new follower, it's new to you. So don't discount the value of reusable, re-editable content. But also do prioritize your family and your mental health, which is a thing that I was struggling with. So take care of them first. Force yourself to get up and do the normal things, like whatever it is, taking out the trash, or whatever it is. Sometimes getting up and walking around is the thing that sort of recharges. Like it, I don't know. It's
good point.
I
know what you mean. Whether it's doing dishes, doing laundry, going to get the mail, taking out the trash, you do several of those things. You kind of feel a sense of accomplishment. You kind of get a little bit of a boost, a little bit of a.
I guess it's bare feet in the grass. Sort of reconnection with reality, and sometimes then once you've had that, you'll snap back into inspiration, and so you don't if you have a video that is just it turned out to be a clunker, don't delete it. Just say, oh, I should have done this. I don't know. I'm still learning, and there are people out there that are doing it better than me for sure. But this is some of the stuff that I learned in 3 years, and it was not. I really discourage you from watching the first 60 videos that I made on my channel. Yeah. They're buried 3 years in the timeline. I ain't going back there, but I also didn't bother. I didn't bother going back and to delete them either, because if you're
it's part of your history, it's part of your development, and
absolutely. To be fair, when you look at my channel, there's a playlist called 1 Million Views, and I've got several videos that hit 1 million views, but it's not because of me. It's not because of my face. A lot of them feature frame 312. I don't know what it is. Sometimes it just takes off, but it helps to have an interesting topic. Anyway, we got to, obviously we enjoy talking to each other. We got to do this again.
Yeah. I'm just glad that you took the initiative to go, what about tonight? I was in the middle, I was on my planning today at school, and I thought, No, my wife doesn't work tonight. I guess we could. I was like, why not? Because neither one of us will procrastinate if we do that. So I'm just glad I didn't plan for it this week. But like you said, if we didn't, maybe this takes another 6 months to get going.
Yeah.
So I'm just very grateful to do that. If you're okay with that, I'm going to wait a few days to post it, only just because I'm still letting that one I did 2 days ago marinate a little bit. And then I need to do a little editing, like I told you before, too. And I'm just really grateful. Is there anything that you want to kind of leave your listeners, my listeners with? I just want to give you a last chance to kind of say whatever you would like. I just want to tell you that I'm just grateful for you helping me over the last year and taking time out of your personal life to be here, and your advice about my family and my mental health. Being a 41-year-old that has a 15-month-old daughter, she's everything to me, and my wife is. Sometimes that's all it takes, is just spending some time with them, and then I already feel like a new man, rejuvenated again. So thank you for that advice. And I just want to leave you an opportunity to have the floor to say anything lastly that you want to say.
I've really enjoyed this. We'll do it again. I have I am honored when people ask me on their podcast, although I clearly just talk about one main thing. But I'm a huge fan of history and a fan of history creators. So these are the people that I follow. If you want to see a list of them, look at the people I'm following. It's going to be Trapped in History. So Robbie, let's do this again.
Sure. Yeah. And I hope to tackle maybe an American history topic with you sometime. Kind of me and you go through it together, maybe debate each other a little or discuss. I would love to do that. I'd be honored to almost kind of team teach with you on a particular topic coming out and stuff. But anyway, I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. On the audio version, I may Easter egg in Skip's audio on his TikTok. What was that? I guess it was a few days ago when you answered, why should we wrestle with history? I was going to ask you that tonight, but you did such a great job. I'd rather just Easter egg that audio in for the listeners to be able to
whatever you think.
Sure. Thank you for doing that. I'm going to go ahead and play our outro music. Again, as usual, for all my listeners, thank you for your time. Please keep questioning the past in order to understand the present. And as always, be contagious.